Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Centurion Leadership Battalion podcast, your source of accountability, inspiration, and motivation to become your best and reach your fullest potential every day. Our motto, it's simple: to use our determination to crush our everyday leadership tasks so that we dominate in our delivery of services and products to our clients and achieve victory and personal growth, profitability, and creating environments for those around us to prosper. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to the CLB podcast. This is your host, Alaina and Justin. We are so excited to have you on for a CRE core value exploration episode today. We are still covering our core value 4, which is a lead by action and by example. So we're going to be tying in our Q&A to that today for what does it mean to lead by example. So welcome, Justin, and I can't wait to see our conversation on this question.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the downloads and the listens, obviously, and thank you, everyone, for the comments and sharing it, obviously. Word of mouth is working, but please continue to give us actual commentary or actual comments because it helps boost it as well. If you're listening in, that would help greatly. And so also you can find Alaina on Instagram at alaina.hamade or on Instagram, and you can find me on Instagram, Justin Bizzarro, no dot. Bizzarro, and you can find this Centurion Leadership Battalion on Instagram and Facebook as well. So please start, helping find us there. And if you have questions, I know everyone reaches out on my Instagram, but you can put them on the Centurion Leadership Battalion Instagram as well. That would be great. So do you want to open up, since you've already started some of the conversation of the core values this week, Alaina, or do you want me to open it up today?
No, I can go ahead and talk a little bit more about this question of what it means to lead by example. I think we've talked about this in the previous CRE episode a bit, just about how we can be leading others. And we also talked about this in one of our previous Q&A episodes of what does it really mean to lead through action. I believe that was another one of the topics that we covered. And I think leading by example is a really important topic to discuss because at the end of the day, people, whether they are your employees or your team members or your kids, your friends, whatever it may be, people are always easily influenced by those around them. And usually it's not by the words you say, but by the actions you take. You could tell your kids all day to behave a certain way, do a certain thing, but if they see you doing something different, that's ultimately what they're going to mirror. And I think it's the same for our teams in our workplace. If you're trying to encourage your team to work hard and be dedicated to a certain goal or time frame for a project, but they see that you're slacking off or you're not devoted to that project, they are not going to be to the level of devotion that you would want. Obviously, there's self-discipline pieces that come into this, but if you're listening to a leadership podcast, we would hope that it would be your goal to lead well. And I think that really starts by leading by example, which is sometimes easier said than done. But I remember my stepmom, she used to say to us kids, do as I say and not as I do. And I was like, as a kid, even that didn't make sense to me. I'm like, how come you get to tell us, to behave in this way and do this and this and this, but you don't have to live by those same rules or guidelines or whatever it might be. That doesn't really work when you are a kid, when you're watching an adult act that way. And I think that has stuck with me for so long because I feel the same way as an adult, right? How do people expect people to comply with certain rules and guidelines when they are not even complying with them? Just something that I think about, and I think it's an important conversation to have because I think by talking about these things, bringing these things up, we can really become better leaders ourselves. So I'll pass the microphone to you for a minute after that long explanation.
I mean, the opposite of leading by example is leading by privilege, in my opinion. That's okay, I get the better parking spot or whatever. Yes, there's salary increases and there needs to be competition and a hierarchy, obviously. But what I'm talking about in terms of example is it's very interesting. I mean, you look at what the Ukraine president did in the situation he was in to try to inspire the world and not get run over like Georgia did with the Russians. And so the example there is he had to go do what he was asking everyone else to do or support him in doing. Just asking for it or being a politician or a bureaucrat wasn't going to be enough. So just to draw a direct parallel to something probably everyone's familiar with, that is the ultimate leading by example. And I cannot say his name properly, so I'm not going to try. But what he did was he understood that leading by example is as much your willingness to do it as it is part of the show of doing it. And that's not a manipulation. It's showing that you're going to do it even if someone else doesn't. And so I'm not saying it to be manipulative, but when you are willing to do it and you are willing to go out there and lead by example and you are willing to inspire in that way to get people to have a certain emotion to rally around something, such as saving your country when it's being invaded by a country that's much larger than you. Leading by example is part of the game. And it takes putting your life at risk sometimes, or putting your reputation at risk sometimes, or what you think your reputation is. But I guarantee his reputation now is discipline, is not quitting. And what does his character represent? He rallies. He's not afraid to get on screen and use social media to rally the troops. He's got a pretty extraordinary thread. So, how do we deal with that? How do we, deal with leaders who have lead by example in bad ways and people follow? That's the problem with leading by example or action. Bad can follow bad and good can follow good. Both are contagious. Both are rewarding financially. So how do we do that? Those are some of the things that we really need to question ourselves as we explore this core value for ourselves. So, as we continue to move forward, or as people to continue to listen, I think the real decision that we all have to make in our own lives is, what is the example we're setting in the way that we lead? What is the example that we're setting for our children? To your point, Alaina, the 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 children, the generations that come after us, the employees that work for us, the people that we inspire or influence, they imitate us. They learn from us. They try what we try. They find confidence in the things that we do because they believe we know what we're doing, because we're in a place of leadership and we got there in some way. A lot of us get there and don't think totally about our leadership impact by the example we're leading by or the actions we're leading by. So I think I don't want to drag it on a long time, because I think the main part of this exploration as we move forward needs to be a lot of internal exploration. And what are my core values and how am I leading by example or action? And, we talk about leaders throughout history, what were the things that they did to lead by example or action? What were the ethos of their lives that made their impact last well beyond their time on this earth? So what was the things that they did? What were the actions they took and the examples they set? So groups of people led on after them. Jesus Christ has been one, and we talked about Clara Barton in another, and Martin Luther King in another. We will be talking about Walt Disney a lot and some of the next ones and some of the other podcasts. So these are visionary leaders that impact has gone on for a long time, but they led by example and through action. But there's a lot to learn from them as well. What are the things that we can do better than them? What are some of the things that we have in our lives or the examples and actions we can take that give us a larger impact or build us a stronger legacy? I don't know, but that's an internal search, really. And we have to ask our own selves, do we have the discipline to take the actions to lead by example? To change our lives, to change our habits, to change our patterns, to change our family issues, to look at our negative things that we do or our bad habits or the ways we may mistreat the people in our lives that are going to compound into our children, and then they're going to mistreat people. What are the things we do in our relationships that are unintentionally setting the wrong example? Maybe it's not our fault because it was passed down to us from another generation, but what can we do better before it affects another generation? Those are the examples and the actions we're talking about. And so thank you everyone for listening in. Alaina, do you have anything you wanted to say on that stuff before we sort of take it home?
I think that was a pretty short and great explanation that gave a full circle answer to the question. I think it was awesome.
Thank you, Alaina. I enjoyed the question.
Thank you so much, and everyone have a great day.